What's going on Twitch and YouTube? Welcome to episode 35 of the U.S.S. CERRITOS tutorial. I'm CERRITOS and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in to today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we got about a 26-minute video. We're going to be getting some more work done on our shuttle bay today. We're going to be getting couple of loose ends done with cleaning up the room like we were doing yesterday's episode, but we're also going to heavily focus on adding our two control rooms that I was talking about, which I think are going to look really, really cool. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'm kind of going to zoom right over to this corner right here and start working on that. Because I'm looking at the way that I have that side lined up and this side right here. Specifically right there in that corner, and they're not matching up. So I'm basically going to pick a side, and I'm going to take a screenshot of this just so I have it, and then I'm going to go over to the left side and try to replicate it down to the T. Because there looks like there's one or two blocks that is preventing this to be out of order. Down in this row is where I made the mistake. Not on this side, but on the right side of the ship. I'm just going to push it a little bit more forward until I actually go back over. So I remember I sat here just for a moment. Okay. How long was I just sitting there? Okay, now we're going to the other side. Yeah, so this is going two back, which it's this part right in here that's messed up. You get rid of that block and that. That looks pretty good. I don't think I have it taped off that same way, but I think more than likely I'm going to alter it to do that, just because that looks really clean. You can see I'm just going with the cut pattern that I typically use when I'm working on these ships. So I just went along the lip with a half slab, so now we're going to do the same thing on the right side here, just along this row. Looks pretty good. I'd probably put more full blocks here and there, right there maybe. Yes, that doesn't look horrible. That actually looks pretty good. Blended in actually quite nicely right there. And that's just how you do it, you know, there's no really set, you know, pattern in doing this other than just going with a cut line. And when you start doing that, you know, it starts to become easier over a period of time to blend in your corners just like we just did here a second ago. But we're going to be moving on now to building out our shuttle bay control rooms, which are going to be pretty cool. These are actually going to sit directly over the shuttle bay corridor. And I don't believe this is on the CERRITOS, but the Enterprise D did have shuttle bay control rooms, and I kind of figured that at this point, more than likely the Cerritos does in fact have them. We just didn't see it in the parts that they showed on the ship. So for that reason, I just decided that it makes sense to add them in. You want to see do you see I want to make this at least 4 wide? So this way there's just enough room, so this way when we clear out everything in between that you can actually walk up to the window that we're going to put in. But we're not going to have a ton of room because this wall isn't super big, so we can't really make it much bigger than this. If we make it much bigger than this, it's not going to look like it's sitting very high off the ground. And if we bring it up any higher, then it's going to be sticking up on the roof. So I feel like this is kind of like the sweet spot to where we can fit this thing. But this is a piece that I really think is going to help to really bring this ship to life, at least in the shuttle bay area. Combination of adding this and those shuttle bay ports, I think will make the thing come out awesome. I actually had somebody in the comments section ask me if I'm going to do like something with the cargo, and some of the cargo crates and the shuttle craft. I do intend to do that. I had actually originally intended to use some of this area for the cargo room, but I ended up making it bigger. But with that being said, I do still want to figure something out for that. I haven't quite figured out exactly what I'm going to do at the moment, but my plan is to figure out a lot of that this weekend. But I also do fully intend to build out a couple of shuttles to put inside of it. I know that we didn't do that for the Disco Enterprise, but I think we may end up doing that for the Cerritos, only because I've had a few people ask me in the comments section in the past if I could do a couple of builds of different shuttles. And I did a few like way back when I built Enterprise A, but I kind of want to revisit it and see if I can come up with anything different. For whatever reason, if I'm not able to, even the designs that I came up with before, we could always fall back to those. But I'm going to try to build something that looks kind of like the shuttles from the Enterprise D. But the main thing that we're going to have to take into consideration is making them fit inside of this thing, and that they're not too big. So you can see, getting a little bit back in what I got going on here, everything in between the cut that I just made, we're getting rid of that. Literally just the first wall, because if we go anything further back, you can see that we're going into a corridor. Don't worry about that. We'll get into that once we get into actually building out this room. But I don't know if I show it in this video or not, but after I took out this wall, I actually go in there, and there's enough room to where we can make like a step down to where we can keep everything that we have for the actual corridor and kind of almost cover it up. I think it's actually going to work out because I'm going to use the top of these pillars from the white terracotta that's sticking out. I'll just use them in the design queue, and I think it'll work out nicely. But this was actually kind of like a last minute addition. I wasn't originally intending to add these rooms, and once I got the wall up, I just decided that, I didn't think that it had enough detail for the back wall. It looked a little bit plain. I hate when it does that. Sometimes in Minecraft, I don't know if this happens to you or not, when I'm rapidly placing down blocks, sometimes I have no problem at all, and I can just go for hours, and it'll let me place them down, even as I'm zipping along the sides. But then, as you saw right there, it stopped placing them down. I have to like physically stop and go up to it, and then it'll let me put it down. It doesn't do it all the time, but every once in a while, on the beta at least, because that's when I'm building this on. Yeah, you see, just by adding those 2 windows there, you can see, we're not done with the shell of it on the outside, but you can really start to see on where I'm going with it, at least on the outside. I'm going with a cut, and I'm bringing it up and out one, and adding another row, because I'm trying to add a little bit of form to the room now, and not make it so flat. Because we have a little bit of room in the front here, we can bring it out just a little bit. We can't bring it out super far, because we don't want this thing to be ginormous, but I think this is a good point that this would actually be our front lip. Just need a top. Maybe we can do half slabs. That might not look bad. Could have went with full, but that cuts the edge up top too, and I think it'll look a little bit cleaner. This is looking pretty decent. Alright, let's get some black stained glass, and then we're going to fill in these windows. I was going to do the blue, then I thought, you know what, I think for this we'll have the windows black, because I think, from what I recall, on the concept art that I could find of the main Enterprise D shuttle bay, the control room, I think the windows were like a black tint dome, so that was kind of like my thinking, well, I'll just go with the black windows, that might look a little bit nicer. Back to sea lanterns, and a little bit more light here in the corner. Yeah, see, just by adding those two shuttle bay control rooms, I mean, it really adds a lot more detail into the room. You've got something a lot more to look at when you come in instead of just this plain wall. We've got a lot going on just in this room. There's a ton of detail going on here. And over the course of the last 3 episodes, I've really showed you how to really form a room together from scratch and come up with something completely unique, because this was a perfect case of not necessarily having solid concept art or excuse me, reference material that we can go off of. We really had to get creative with this. And, you know, I tried to point out the design cues that I used as my inspiration, but pretty much 90% of what you're seeing here, you know, I just kind of formed it together based off what made the most sense and the layout that we had to work with. And I don't think this looks bad at all. This was pretty much a combination of being predetermined by the corridors that we laid down, and then the 2 shuttle bay doors. You can see I'm just closing off those 2 ends, cleaning that up a little bit. I think that looks a little bit nicer. We can edge that off right up to the lip with half slabs. That might not look horrible. We might as well throw the same thing down on the right side as well. Still haven't gotten the lighting done quite yet, but we're going to be very, very soon. We're really getting to that point where there's going to be other things that we're going to start doing. I'm going to try to wrap up the shuttle bay within the next episode. I've got to hop on Minecraft this weekend and get a lot of stuff done. I'm going to wrap up the shuttle bay and then start working on other areas of the ship, and try to bang out the rest of this build this weekend, actually. So you may catch me streaming. I'm not going to be streaming all of it because I want stuff to be able to show live, but there is a good chance you will catch me online streaming this weekend on Minecraft, building out different rooms on the ship. But my plan is to get all of it done by the end of this weekend. The entire remainder of the ship, I think I'll be able to. Because then I want to take a brief break from Minecraft and recharge my batteries while we're finishing up the tutorial. And then once the tutorial runs out, or excuse me, I should say once we start getting close to the end of the tutorial, I'll start working on the Enterprise D. I did the same thing when I built the Discovery Enterprise. I did it in a way where I pretty much had the whole thing built out, where I think there was like a month and a half where I wasn't building anything, and I just had enough content recorded where I had videos coming out. And And then by the time I started getting towards the end of it, I started working on the Cerritos, and like I had a nice little break from it, but I didn't lose any content. So I'm going to do the same thing this time around, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm really actually excited to finish this thing off. So this way I can hop into the Enterprise D, because I'm really anxious to get into that build. That's going to be the hardest build I've ever done to date, and I've said in the past, I'm a little afraid of it. I'm not 100% certain I can pull this thing off. I'm sure that I can, because I even surprised myself with the Cerritos. There were some some sections of the ship on the outside I wasn't sure I was going to be able to pull off, and I did. So we'll just kind of have to play it by ear, but I'm kind of afraid of it, because it's going to be the biggest ship I've ever made. But I've had a lot of people asking for it. It's one of my #1 requests, other than the Disco Enterprise. The Enterprise, well, not Disco Enterprise, I should say that. Discovery A. That's my other #1 request. But I'm waiting for a model so I can build that thing out. But we still got some stuff to do on the Cerritos. Actually, there's a couple of areas on this ship specifically that I'm curious how it's going to turn out. Engineering, I think, will be cool once it's done. Even though it's going to be kind of simple, the holodeck is something I've been really looking forward to building on here. I don't know why, but I always actually really enjoyed the episodes of Next Generation that they focused on the holodeck. I actually had a few friends that didn't like it, because they were like, oh, every time they ran out of ideas, they went to the holodeck. I disagreed. I thought some of their best episodes were on the holodeck. Anyway, I want to get into a little what I got going on here. I'm counting out 4 blocks, and on the 5th one, I'm putting a bar in between here. And I'm doing that just to give a little bit more texture in the windows here. I kind of feel like the window just going straight across looks a little plain, and having that bar in between them every so often splits them up a little bit, adds a little bit more definition, and they look pretty good. Additional row to these struts and bring them all the way down. See how that looks. Might not look bad. Won't know until we throw it down and take a look. Doesn't look bad. The only thing I don't like about that strut there is that it kind of takes away the free form. That's just kind of like sitting there. Almost like that a little bit better. You see, I'm just comparing the two, going back and forth, trying to decide which one I like more. And I went ahead and decided that I don't like the pillars, but if you like these pillars, keep them on. You know, at this point, it's literally just coming down to my preference, but I always like to show this stuff, because this is just another clear case that there's literally thousands of different ways, different configurations that you can come up with to build your own ships. This is just one of the many variations. So at this point, either way you go, there's really no wrong way to do it, you know? And now I'm being a Gemini at this point. I'm even taking out the struts in between, and I'm going to look at the two and see if I actually want to take them out. I'm not going to lie, they actually do look better with them in the window, at least. Maybe not being 3D and coming out of it like we had it a moment ago, but at least having this one block in here, I think that looks pretty good. You see we have this whole back wall here. This is where the actual shuttle base storage is going to go. That'll be pretty cool. So now we're moving on to the next portion of the ship, or the next portion of the build. I'm reworking the outsides the actual lip of the entrance to come into the shuttle bay, and I'm just bringing them back a little bit and trying to clean them up a little, because what I had before, I had those 2 blocks just basically floating there, and I didn't really like that. Yeah, you can see how they're just kind of sticking out here, and it doesn't look horrible, but I mean, I don't know, it doesn't look great either. Then we're just going to swap out these top 2. That looks pretty good. And I think we're actually going to slightly adjust the top lip here in a moment also. Not sure how I feel about that. I'm not gonna lie, entrance to the shuttle bay can always be tricky. As far as getting it to look right and then having that blend in with the rest of the ship, and then that looks right also. I don't think we're really that far off. I think we're just about as close as we're going to be able to get this thing. But something about the top lip, the entrance way to the saucer, it feels like maybe it's coming out maybe by 1 too far. You can see I'm trying to basically make this look like it's one piece, and it's just not matching up the way I want it to. I don't really like that. I think we're ultimately going to end up getting rid of this row right here. Yeah, so we're just going to take off what we just had, those 2 blocks, and that half slab. Even though I forgot to take off the half slab. Yeah, see, and even that, I don't know. The best thing to do when you're not sure about it, you know, zoom out and take a look at it and see those 2 half slabs right there are messing up the shape of the saucer, so they're not going to work. That might not be bad. At least on the top row, that looks a little bit better. And see, it doesn't seem like it's a big deal with your placement with your blocks, but like, it really is. Like, you know, this is just like a perfect example of take your time with your build, because this is such a small part of the build that I'm working on right now, but I feel like this can easily make it or break it in this area if it doesn't look right. And what I'm looking at is all these lines here, and if it all blends together. This one block right here is really the only thing that stands out right now, which kind of bugs me. But there's really not that much that I can do about it. Based off the current size, I'd have to shave off a whole nother row to really do anything about that. And I'm not committed to doing all that work, so I'm just going to leave that one block as it is. And it's the same thing on the other side. But other than that, it looks pretty good. I may do lighting on the sides here and then on the right side, just to make it look a little bit prettier when you're first coming in. That can definitely be a thing. But we've got a lot done today. We've got our shuttle bay control rooms completed, and then when we pick up next week, we've got a couple more loose ends to do, and then building our cargo area, and then also the shuttle parking spots. We're going to be adding those also, and then we'll be calling it a day on the shuttle bay and moving on to other areas. But like I said, this weekend I'm really going to be getting. My goal is to get the remainder of this build done. So if there are things that you'd like to see me incorporate on this ship, now's the time to ask me while I'm still working on it, because once I do complete this ship, the likelihood of me coming back and adding stuff decreases drastically. So definitely get those comments in. If there's anything that you want to see me add, drop a comment below. For whatever reason, if I'm not being specific enough in something, or if you got stuck during the build, drop a comment below. I'm usually pretty responsive in the comment section. I'll try to help you out if I can. And also, if there's any other builds you want to see. Um, but yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for me. I just want to thank everybody again for tuning into today's episode. And if you haven't, please help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button, helping me and supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. New subscribers, also don't forget to hit notifications on so you always get notified when those new videos drop. And speaking of new videos, don't forget you can always catch my new live streams at twitch.tv/ZeroElite. My new Twitch streams always drop Sundays through Thursday nights, typically between 9 and 10 p.m. Eastern. Also, don't forget you could always catch my new videos dropping on YouTube at youtube.com/c/ZeroElite. You could always catch my new Starship Evo builds dropping on Mondays, and my Minecraft videos dropping Tuesdays through Fridays. Those videos on YouTube drop at 10 a.m. Eastern. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me. I hope everybody has a happy and safe weekend, and I'll catch you on next week's episode.